Hey guys, it's John. You're on the JRB Tree Climbing channel. This video, if one video is long overdue, it's this one. It's about stick climbing, and it's about stick climbing on no slack. I've struggled with this, and I'm going to need to talk for a minute. Please bear with me. This video could save some lives, and I want you to get the background. I started saddle hunting in 2008, which was a whole decade before I heard of saddle hunting. I was just doing my own thing. And when I heard about the saddle hunting movement, and I got online just like you did, and I did a Google image search on saddle hunting, and I watched some of the videos, to be honest with you, I wanted no parts of it. And the reason I wanted no parts of it is because I saw too much risk in the way that people were climbing. And I sat in the shadows for a couple of years before I came out with my YouTube channel and started to show you how I climb. But you've asked me, so many folks have asked me, well, John, how would you approach stick climbing? And I've avoided the question because it's, number one, it's difficult to answer, but number two, it's a polarizing topic. This video is going to make some people upset. And you know what? If you're not into the topic, you can drop right now. You can drop the view, you can drop the channel, you can unsubscribe. Who says that on their channel? But I'm here to make a change. I'm here to make an impact. I'm here to get you thinking a little bit differently. When it comes to safety, we all think we're safe until we find out that we're not. And when we find out we're unsafe, that could be in the course of an accident. If you want to ask somebody some questions, go ask somebody who's had an accident. Have them watch this video and take that perspective. We don't all know everything. We start out knowing nothing and we build our knowledge. I am going out of my way to share what I know, and also I am motivated by your input to devise safer practices and share them with you. It's a journey. I don't stick climb anymore. I used to. I grew up climbing trees. The first tree I climbed, I just free climbed the tree when I was a teenager. I used ladder stands. I used permanent stands my dad and I built. I used sticks. And of course, I have been a rope climber in recent years. And so I no longer use sticks. Now, please don't take this analogy as offensive, but it's the best one I could think of. We all learn how to ride a bicycle, right? And some of us just learned when mom or dad let go of the back of the bike, and some of us had training wheels on our bike. But the bottom line is, we all learn to ride a bike. Well, I liken climbing sticks to the training wheels on a bicycle. We use them to learn how to climb. But once we learn how to climb, we don't need them anymore. Now, I have no objections to you using one stick, 7 sticks, or 17 sticks, and you could spend as much money on them as you want to. That's fine. I'm just going to show you that the fundamental principles of safe climbing apply whether or not you are using a climbing stick. We don't have standards that regulate safe climbing and saddle hunting. And so what does a smart person do? Well, we research. Who climbs trees for a living? Guess who? Arborists. Arborists have a standard. It's in the American National Standards Institute. ANSI Z133 is the standard for arborist safety. And I brought a whole bunch of quotes. You know what? I don't think you have the patience to hear them, but I'm going to summarize a couple of them. One of them is that what we call a lineman's belt, that really is not a safety device. That's a positioning device. This quote from Z133 says that placing a climbing line around a stem, around the tree, in an area without a lateral limb to lock it in is not acceptable. It has to be cinched or choked. This language is in Z133, and it makes sense. If you have a lineman's belt and you're 25 feet up in the tree and you lose your footing, let's say you slipped or you suffered some sort of a mishap or equipment failure, I mean, I can't tell you if you're going home with stitches or you're coming home with a cast or worse, but it's not going to be pretty. We have to be tied in, and we have to be on little slack. If you were to summarize everything on my safety playlist on my YouTube channel, if you were to summarize all that, it comes down to being tied in, managing slack, and having a rappel path, having an emergency path to ground. If we can accomplish those 3 things, whether we're using a stick or not, we're in pretty good shape. Another tidbit from Z133 has to do with repositioning. The arborist shall be secured when repositioning the climbing line. When repositioning, the arborist shall always preload the new tie-in point with their full weight before releasing the current one. What that means is we don't advance our tether up the tree. It's our tie-in. We're taking a pretty big gamble that while we're sliding our tether up our tree and we're trying to manage slack, that nothing is going to happen. It's safer to alternate tie-ins. And so with that as a preamble, I'm going to get started. Here's a pretty typical climbing stick. Now, I apologize. I would give credit to the manufacturer, except it was lent to me from a friend. I don't own this product. I've just been working with it. It's pretty standard. It's got a cam cleat. Now, I can't speak to the, I don't know what the weight rating in this cam cleat is. It's got am steel. I'm not a huge fan of am steel, only because the manufacturer doesn't specify it to be used for life safety applications. And the cam cleat's kind of unstable. It's easy to come out. And that makes it handy for one sticking, but I worry about this device being considered a life safety device. Here's a carabiner. It's good for over 24 kilonewtons, well over 5,000 pounds. Well, what's this good for? Is a few hundred? Where does it break? I don't know. So here's my approach. I'm going to treat this climbing stick as a part of my climbing system, but not a life safety component. I'm not going to count on it for my safety. I'm always going to be tied in, and I'm always going to be on little slack. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a quick climb. I'm going to climb with, if you're one sticker, you're familiar with the term, we do moves. I call those transfers. I will set my anchor, my personal body anchor, on the tree 3 times, and it will move or transition twice. So typical for a stick climber, first thing we do is we get our one stick up, basically as high as we can get it, reasonably speaking. And again, because I am not particularly worried about this device popping off the tree, I'm not going to go crazy in terms of how I secure it. Next, on this very tree, which by the way is marked every 5 feet for its height, a couple weeks ago I did a video showing how to take your rappel rope and convert it into a climbing system. This 38-foot piece of rope used to be a rappel rope. It's now a climbing system, thanks to a couple of Longhorn Agile hitches. I'm tying a knot right now. It's an anchor knot, and it's called the Maverick hitch. I devised it, and it's free and public information. See my video tying the Maverick hitch. Anyone can use this hitch, and there's no license. There's no patent. It's free and public domain. And what this pole, which is the Maverick pole. Now this pole didn't exist. I had to devise it. You can build your own. I've showed you how to do that. And you can also purchase this pole. You can get it from Ape Canyon Outfitters in the JRB collection. But using the pole and the hitch, I have created an anchor on the tree. We're going to move as quickly as possible today. I might have removed that pole to be optimally quiet, but it doesn't affect the integrity of our climb, so we're just going to get on with it. I'm going to take my bridge. I've got 2 bridges on my saddle, a long and a short bridge, and I'm going to shorten my bridge basically as short as it goes. I'm going to execute this whole climb without a lineman's belt. I happen to have one on me, but I don't need it for the climb. What I do is I take this friction hitch, the compact Longhorn Agile hitch, and I attach it on my extremely shortened bridge, and I remove slack. Now, this first set, we're going to do this a couple of times, so I can basically short circuit and show you what I've learned over months and years. If we're trying to minimize slack, we're trying to keep it to an absolute minimum. We don't want to be able to fall more than a few inches. My rule has always been a handspan. Well, I've got a problem before I get started, because this first step is a couple of feet off the ground. If I try to get on that, well, look, I've got a lot of slack in my tie-in. That's a problem. And even if I try to manage it, well, it's kind of difficult to do. So it's a little bit hard to make that move. Let's try to go a little further. I take the slack out as I climb. It's a little bit clumsy. I've watched folks who are bigger than me struggling with this. Yes, it's possible, but again, I never want to have a foot of slack and definitely not more. So this is a little hard to do. How can I do that better? Let me show you. So I have a device. I happen to believe every climber needs one. This is my JRB guarded hitch foot loop. It's in what we call transformation mode, which just means it's being run in a short mode. Because I have this device, it's much easier for me to manage slack. I'll put my foot in it, and now, even if I was having a trouble getting all the way up to this first step, look, I can basically rope climb up to the first set. Now, that was easier. Look, I'm moving 6 inches or a foot at a time. And my weight is always on the rope. Watch this rope. It's never going to go slack. Zero slack on my rope. And I'm just using the stick as an assistant. But hold on. If I could climb that first couple of feet without needing the aider, well, shoot, I probably could climb all the way to here without the aider, right? Let's see that. Let's take off our aider. I don't need an aider. And again, trying to cover as much ground as possible. It's very hard for me, since I hurt my back last November, it's hard for me to bend down and remove my stick. And so I can be a little bit more aggressive about the manner in which it's released. I'll go over these details at another time, but I'm going to set this up what I call mousetrap mode, so I can take this stick off without bending down. All right, let's 3 times is a charm. Let's do this again. Let's put on my garter hitch. Am I stick climbing or am I rope climbing? Well, it's a combination of both, just like your aider was a combination. But the aider depended on the integrity of the stick, which was of unknown strength. This rope could lift my truck. Okay, now approaching the stick, okay. Now the next, I'm going to get as high as possible. And look, I don't need a lineman's belt, and I'm tied into the tree. I'm going to grab the other end of my rope. I'm going to tie it on the tree using another Maverick hitch. Now, I understand that tying a life-sustaining knot like I'm doing now is not a trivial undertaking. And so if you don't feel comfortable tying a Maverick hitch, please don't. There are other options. I have the JRB cinch in your toolbox as well, and it is pretty foolproof. It's just got some metal and a little bit more potential clink factor in terms of its ability to cause noise on the way up the tree. But of course, safety first. So here's my other Maverick, and if you paid attention, I didn't need to look at that when I tied it. Let's walk that up the tree. And so this pole allows me, I might as well just go as high as I can reach, right? I'm not stretching or anything. Let's set it right there. And now I'm going to transfer, I'm going to execute a transfer operation whereby I shift my weight over to that hitch. How do I do so? Well, it's got another identical Longhorn agile hitch. I clip that on my bridge. and I take slack out of it. And so now I have loaded, I am Z133 compliant. I have loaded my secondary anchor before moving my first anchor. This is great. Let's move our foot loop. Now you can build systems with foot loops on both sides. Earlier generations of my systems had them. I'm going to remove this anchor completely. But now I've got to get my stick. And again, reaching all the way down to that point would hurt my back. So here's how I retrieve my stick. It usually works. Come down just a little bit. Grab the top ear. If I pull up on that, it lets go. I'll show you how to do that sometime. I call that mousetrap mode. If your back is 100%, you don't need to worry about that. Okay, now, it'd be pretty simple for me to repeat the operation, for me to put the stick on, just like I did at the ground. But wow, look how high the stick would be. Look how high it is compared to my tie-in. I'm kind of wasting a lot of space. Wouldn't it be cool if I could climb a little further and then put my stick on? Oh, well, Mom, I can. So let's do that. Let's climb a little further before we put our stick on. Now, I've baited you in because I have no intentions of putting my stick back on the tree on this move, because this isn't my final move. What good would that do? Why would I put my stick on the tree when I'm just going to be taking it right back off again? The only time in this operation I really need my stick or my platform is the final move. See, I've gotten higher. I'm higher than I would have gotten before. Here's the end of the rope that I started my climb with. That was anchor 1. And you can see it's kind of short. Well, that makes sense because I climbed up. I need to pull a little slack out. And I will tie one more maverick hitch. And again, I don't need to look at this. And I'm not saying you should do what I'm doing. I'm highly experienced at this. But I don't need to look at my maverick to tie it. Sometimes I get comments from folks that, wow, my channel would be a lot more interesting if there was some music at the beginning, or maybe some dancers, or I don't know what it takes to sell videos, but I'm not selling anything, right? I got nothing for sale. I'm the only guy in saddle hunting who's got a website, and I can't take your credit card. I don't want your money. And I never will ask for your trust, but I am willing to earn it. Okay, let's complete our transfer where we've got to load our upper hitch. And I've done so. Let's remove our lower hitch and move our garter over. So you're right, this looks a lot like rope climbing, and it is. But back to Z133, there's no section on climbing sticks either. It doesn't say that you can't use climbing sticks. It says you have to do so safely. That standard is full of language. It has to do with ropes being tied in and being secured. At this juncture, let's go up just a couple inches and let's put on our climbing stick. And so I'm going to reposition just slightly to be under my hitch. And this time I'll make that secure. And let's finish our climb. So in my early days, when I tried to do no slack stick climbing, well, it was kind of difficult. There was always an unacceptable amount of slack. It was definitely more than zero, and more than I'm comfortable with. Okay, now depending on the height that you prefer your tie-in, I've got it right here where I think most people like it, which is about chin height. Personally, I like mine. I like mine higher. When I step in for a weak side shot, I go under. But you know, that's personal preference. I could have reached a little higher. But you see the deal. I have successfully climbed, and I used the stick as an assistant. Let's rappel. Incidentally, it was on this tree that I filmed a video, single rope rappel on the Munter friction hitch. I got no problem with mechanical devices, it's just that I don't actually need them myself. So I am ready for rappel. The only and the last action is to take out my retrieval line and I put it on the Maverick as I unlock it. Now if I drop that retrieval line, well, I'd have to go down and get it and come back. I always think about the things that I need. Anything for a life safety purpose, it simply can't be droppable. Has to be part of me. So sure, I could have exercised this climb on 2 different ropes, but why bother? I've got one rope, and in fact, I prefer a rope that's longer than this one. Okay, I'll break. A great feature of the Longhorn Agile, I can break it with one hand with my full body weight on it. At any point I want to stop, I stop. I'll take off my stick. And I'll resume rappel. So that Maverick hitch up there is ready to be released. And so that might make you feel kind of nervous, and it should. I did a whole year of testing before releasing this hitch to make sure that it can't easily be released. See me pulling on that? That's one hand as hard as I can pull, and it won't release. But once I disconnect myself, it's a pretty simple matter. And down it comes. It is hot today in Pennsylvania. So I apologize if I disappointed anybody in that you were expecting something a little bit different in terms of what it takes to execute a no slack stick climb. And I'm happy if I've encouraged others to think about how you might do the same. And again, I ask you that if this information is helping you, it's not like I'm planning on getting rich with YouTube videos. That's not why I do this. But share it with someone else. If you don't want them to watch my videos, then you can just go ahead and demonstrate. But once you get yourself tied in and on no slack, once you get yourself safe, then help me out. Go find your buddies and your friends and your family and make sure they're equally safe. My goal here is a bit ambitious. It's to eliminate what's become a ritual during hunting season, and that's all of the injury posts. I don't want to see those anymore. And of course, we're never going to get there. We're never going to get to everybody, but we're going to do everything we can, and we'll celebrate that victory. It's happening already. All right, guys, thank you very much.